Well, thank you all for being here. I truly appreciate it. Uh, you know, this idea first came out of the cottage meetings, because at the cottage meetings, we heard repeated again and again how important music is to the people of St. Paul's. That wasn't elicited. We didn't have that question, but what is important to you? Music came up again and again. And so one of the first things I'd like to do is explore that question about what is it about music that is so important? What do you appreciate? And then knowing that we recently let our choir director go, the choir had probably 5 to 6 people. Then we had the Bartons move, and then John died. And I had heard from Nick that we had like 2 at choir rehearsal often. And then it was trying to get the piece together on a Sunday morning. And just in consultation with the choir, it felt like it's time to let that version go. Not that we're not going to form another choir, that we might not ever have a choir again, but what does it look like now? So those are kind of open-ended questions, but why don't we start with a question about why is music so important, and what particular about it at St. Paul's is important to you? Sure.
I've done my fair share of moving and trying to find a new home church. And so I sort of have my own list of what I look for in a church. And music is one of them. And one of the reasons why I am in the Episcopal Church rather than my home church of the UCC is you get 2 extra hymns per Sunday. So more singing, for me, that's better because music is such a huge portion of my worship experience. It doesn't have to be grand and bombastic. My home church that I grew up in had a full-blown music sort of department, which was wonderful. But even if what we had for the most part was 5 good, solid hymns that the congregation for the most part knew, and my preferences mostly in parts, that's what feeds my soul is hearing the congregational response in a full manner. And for me, I love the singing in parts, which I know is difficult when you're trying to sort of like bootstrap it up. But for me, that's what I look for.
Congregational speak.
Well, the microphone is down here. I'll throw in my 2 cents. I totally agree that music is important to me. I kind of take it with me all week long. Invariably, something sticks in my head and goes round and round. But in addition, I think it's really important for us to learn some new things. But I also think we need guidance to learn that, maybe in a way that somebody can teach us new things, and then we can all link in. Because although many people read music now, especially with the screens, we don't always get the books out, but that doesn't matter. We can always learn it one way or another. But I think it's important for us all to learn it instead of going, oh, I don't know this, so I'm not going to sing. So.
For me, the music is important as a way that it enhances my worship, but it also is a way for me to give back. Because monetarily, especially right now, I can't contribute, but it's a way for me to contribute to the church. And it's something that most of the time I can do well. So that even if other parts of me are not working well, funny thing that if my brain's not working well for other things, a lot of times I can still sing. And so when people say, oh, I sat in the right place, because it was really helpful to have you singing behind us. That means that I was a help for somebody else's worship. And that means a lot to me. That's my service. And I think that's part of what music should be for church.
That's what my 2 cents. I didn't go to church till I was 12 years old because my mother didn't drive. And I think I've told this story to people. And our neighbors took us to the Lutheran church because they were Lutherans. And then they called my father and said they wanted to tithe. And my father said to my mother, Ethel, you're going to drive and you're going to take the kids to the nearest Episcopal church. I was 12. And at 12, I was accepted into the adult choir because I had the same loud voice. I was a high soprano. So church and singing are the same thing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I once read somewhere, if you sing, you pray twice. And I truly believe that. So music in church. And when we came to St. Paul's, I was amazed at how musical the congregation was. Everybody sang. And it was because also we were sitting in the back of the church. The organ was in the back and we were in the back as choir. So people in front of us felt, okay, I can sing too, because they can't hear me. So, so I think we have to look at other arrangements and, but we also, I know when we get something new, you really need someone who knows how to sing to teach it to you.
Yes.
Otherwise, if I don't learn it, I flub it. So yeah, I'm not any different than anyone else. So that's why music's important to me. It's my life.
Talking stick.
Talk to the hand.
I have been to many kinds of churches, and I actually like almost all of them. The singing meant the most to me in almost every church I went to. And I never learned how to sing. And I kind of taught myself because I was at Cathedral in Lexington, Kentucky, and there's such an emphasis on music there. And it goes on through the whole service, and a full choir of men and boys and girls. And you finally start hearing all those notes and getting them into your head, and then you start trying them out at home because, just like Jody said, songs stay with me all week. I will all of a sudden start singing some hymn. So music is so important to me.
It's just, I thought about not long ago, I was sitting beside Nancy in church, and I thought you had note for note, you had it very, very well sounding. So you helped me to pick out the melody, even though I had the book in front of me. Janie and I are folk singers, and so we often sing with just the chords, and we sometimes, in my case, I'm modifying I'm not reading the music, I'm modifying the music to it, but we both read. And so we really, I guess I'm kind of speaking for both of us, she'll say something there, but we both read music and we both love to sing, and we think church the same. I echo everything that everyone said. Church is the music is very important in church. we had we were in one church, I'll just share that was it was a great space for hearing each other. You could hear each other sing. It was down in Texas. And the people down there and some of the churches we've been in, you know, we love when music is beautiful and we can feel like we're being part of a beautiful music. But down in Texas, a big part of life moving around down there were the great-tailed grackles. And you know, they thought they had a beautiful voice too. And we grew to love that voice. And I've been sitting right in front of some people who were frankly totally challenged, but they just belted it out. And that meant more to me in a way. So I think for people to feel like they can't sing, I think it's really strong, really good to encourage people who feel like they don't have a voice to just give it a try and get it in there. In this one church in Texas, we had a piano, a grand piano for the music, which was very easy to sing and sing parts to. And we love organ music as well. But for singing, I think that particular piano was wonderful. The space was good. Mary Jane Alms was a former Lutheran or a Lutheran who was working with the Episcopal Church at that time, played, and she adjusted the key according to the singer. So everything was in a key that was singable. So we love that. But the main thing is if it's something where everybody can sing and I can hear the people around me, that's what I love about church and music.
To that end, I would encourage when we pick hymns out or songs out, it's nice that it fits liturgically with the readings in the psalm and the whole idea. That's very helpful as part of the liturgy. And also that the intervals that we're singing are singable. So the music is singable for regular people, you know. Anybody else?
I'm just carrying it.
I'm Judy Matthews. For me, I'm not trained singer in any way, but for me, it's like that connection with the whole room, especially like at Christmas. I look forward to like, now's my chance to sing this hymn with a whole bunch of people instead of just singing along with the radio or that type of thing. I also appreciate variety. So when I heard you say folk singers, I was like, ooh, like, not that we need to have a whole folk service, but can we intersperse the different kinds of music in one day? Yeah. So whether not just we've got the blue hymnal and the green hymnal, but there's other stuff too, and what's appropriate. Someone has to figure all that out. Not me. But anyway, that's so just the variety and yeah. That's where I'm at. Anyway, anybody?
So I'm Holly Carroll. Yeah, I keep thinking that we could use some talent in the community too. Maybe there's some CSU students that want to perform either instrumental or singing. And I don't know, what kind of budget do we have? You know, we don't have a choir director, but maybe there's enough funds, maybe once a month or quarterly, if we don't, you know. So we have some variety. And I love the idea of folks singing. But I'm looking around the room and I see 5 choir members here. And maybe Martin and Jamie and Nancy. I can't sing, but I'll give it a try. I mean, if we need a choir and, you know, enough people, but I have to warn you, I was kicked out of 9th grade choir because I couldn't carry a tune.
We don't compete like.
No, you don't need to read music,
I can read music.
but you don't need to, because we'll make accommodations.
I'm Mark Warner. Music is really important. I'm a lifelong Episcopalian, and it's always been a part of the Episcopal liturgy. And I have great respect for those of you who try that. I regret that I don't have my musical talent. In fact, when my oldest daughter was 8, she told me that my musical ability was limited to carrying the cello case. And so I really appreciate those of you who make that contribution to the worship.
I'm gonna throw in, I'm his wife. He's one of those people that belts it out, and it might not be on pitch, but he does. There's a few songs he knows, and I just go, it's perfectly pitched. I can't believe it. There's a few of them. He comes from a musical family that he's the only odd man out there, so that's why he likes music.
Make a joyous noise unto the Lord. Nobody said it had to be on key.
There you go. Thank you, Betsy.
My husband and my mother were tone deaf, but loved to sing. So sometimes I would move down the pew a little bit, but they love to sing, so you can't stop that.
That's all right. That's good. All right.
But that's why I sit in front of Jim.
There you go.
Yeah, yes, Monty has a beautiful voice.
Yeah, I always love it when we have a guest accompanying this, so Monty can join the tenors. Tenor. Uh, Hi, Internet. This is Seth Stapleton, the lone tenor. Always looking for other tenors. I guess, being raised Southern Baptist, obviously music was very, very important, but I've also seen it tear churches apart. Guitars are okay, electric is not, acoustics fine. So I've seen the dark side of the fighting over music. I've never seen that here, but I was just throwing it out there. Kind of as we move forward, and talk about what music looks like next. Yeah. And I don't know what it looks like next, but I would love to be a part of it.
Said Stapleton. I've been saying step.
It is a long E. Yes.
I'm curious. I guess 2 things, just for people being able to follow along, and actually hear the melody. How comfortable, if we only have 1 or 2 singers for a day, if that's feasible, because even 1 or 2 people mic'd will help other people follow along with the words. Or if it's feasible to have a recording of, a singer. I don't know if that would make it challenging for Monty to play with, it's probably easier for the singer to follow Monty rather than the other way around, but I really have no idea. Those are just questions that arise in my mind.
I know that Claire and Lori have talked about picking the people on Sunday mornings to help with the leading as a way of possibly, because we know the space is a bit challenging when it comes to being able to hear each other. I've heard many times about at Elizabeth Street, you could hear each other. And I remember Kay, the music director, when I came in, said, this is a great singing congregation. It's just that in this space, because we can't hear each other, people tend to not sing or sing softly, or it bounces off and we lose it. So we have a challenging space which we're singing. So we're trying to figure that out as well.
But I think we can mic a couple of people.
They have the dancers.
Yeah. And have people maybe, like, for instance, you, Joan, be able to and willing to guide people, and here's what the melody is, and do a little practice ahead of time or something like that, and then
We did it years ago.
Yeah,
Jack had something.
Just to go up in front of them. One of them is it's in Spanish, but we're gonna sing in Spanish, so this is how it goes.
And it would be one that we do during communions, and we do it every Sunday until the congregation do it better.
Yes.
Really well.
It is, That way you're not so afraid. I mean, like, if I come across something I don't know, I'm not gonna sing it. Well, I do, but I, you're not gonna do the complete all of it, you know?
Oh, no, there was a.
You can just real short, we also, I didn't mention, we love a thumb song as well. So when you talk about campers.
There we go.
Even a brass thumb song.
And we did have Nick say the fall during Lent.
It was.
Exquisitely beautiful.
And that is one thing that when you start singing the songs, everybody does join in. And I think just because of the way they're written, it helps you to get the tune right. You don't really have to worry about the tune because it kind of stays the same.
There are also other ways to teach new hymns, but one of the things I've seen done is basically learn a new hymn every month. And so like the history of the whoever gets up and gives like a 2-minute history of like the person who wrote it or when they wrote it or why they wrote it, and then introduces like the first verse. And then the second week you sing it again. And, you know, so by the 4th week, it's become a more familiar hymn. So
Yes.
I love learning new hymns, but learning some hymns cold, even for choir directors, for choir people, we're like, this is a non-traditional sound to it, and I can't figure out what's going on, and then the whole thing falls apart, and that's.
Just the opposite of that I've heard over the years. Well, why don't they sing my favorite hymn anymore? Why don't they do that? Well, my church back east, once a year, everyone would hand in their favorite hymns and the whole service was sung, including the gospel, including the sermon. And it was all based on all the hymns.
Great idea.
And everybody, and it took a while to get the tally of who liked what, you know, to fit it into the liturgy. But it kind of made everyone feel they were part of it.
That's a great idea.
So that was one half of the conversation. The second half was going to be, how might you contribute to making new kinds of music or at St. Paul's as we move forward?
So far I've heard a couple of really good ideas, you know, one being, turn in your favorite hymns so that we know what people like, and another being, you know, figuring out ways to invite people so that we have more of the ability to hear music in that space that we're in.
Maybe hiring a cantor was another idea.
So teaching, how about you guys? How about, how can you help out or participate or whatever?
Can you hear me? That, which is really exciting and kind of fun, makes me love you all even more. That there's a possibility here that instead of putting all that work on a choir director, that the community kind of takes over some of that, and then we have an amazing musician here, Monty, who can, you know, say what you feel comfortable doing. But if we keep the conversation open and we're generating the ideas how to make the space work, I think honestly it's going to take more than a couple mic placements. Like that might be part of it, but it's a really challenging space. So where are we putting the singers? Where are we putting the mics? But I just want to put in that word right now that I feel like we have enough people and enough resources and ability that we might not need to just delegate everything to one person or choir director. We can have the conversation ourselves and have a really vital music life, I think, just with all of us.
I wonder whether it would be good, it might not be, but think about it, roping off certain parts so that we have to be closer together.
I don't know that you have to rope it off. I think possibly we could start by talking about it and encouraging all of us who are regularly coming to kind of sit in the sections and then, you don't have to necessarily rope it off. But I think if it was a general understanding, it came out epistle or whatever, we're gonna do this for this reason.
But we would need to figure out what part
Well,
of the
we have
building.
some- we have some resources. There's people. How the sand works.
JD, do we have a one license?
Yes, yeah.
We also have a lot of music in a file cabinet in one of the rooms.
Yeah, I guess it's just one falcon.
Yeah.
I'm willing to be mic'd. I'm also willing to look at and learn new music.
Willing to collate the list of favorites and. That's the best I
It's
can
a
do.
big job.
I know it's a big job, but still, I'm willing to do that. Okay.
But that's the fun part.
Also, it sounds like we have some ready-made cantors here. I don't know that we need to hire.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
We've been doing that. They've been
Yeah.
supporting us, because I can hear them for a little while. I think
Former choir members should aim to sit in the back.
Yeah, and I think we need to add a couple people
And we need more people.
to,
We need more people in the back.
Some say the primary mission of the cantor is the sung psalm.
Years ago, we used to, the choir sang the psalm. We didn't have a cantor, we sang the psalms during lunch. And we would practice because there's different tunes that go with the different psalms. And the congregation got used to it and they knew to sing with us, But that was years ago.
I just was gonna add on the cantor that, I remember one place we travel a lot and we're gone much of the year. And I think we're happy to help out and negotiate that, but we also travel. But one place had a handful of people who were volunteer cantors who, they would work together and work all that. And then there was a rotating schedule. And so it seems like that would be a thing that would work here again, so that we wouldn't have to hire somebody, but there would be somebody here to lead. That's my thought.
We have, I don't know, but we have a store of music from our COVID time now. Music that was pre-recorded by the choir and used for Zoom worship. So we still have a lot of that. I don't know if it's usable or not.
I hope so. I hope it's usable because it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
And the church even hired, what was his name? Goldie.
Goldie, that's right.
Yeah, he's a professional sound person.
Yeah, so
That's a good
I could
idea.
use that and sing along with it.
Right.
For instance, something also.
But I think, I know several people in this congregation are instrumentalists. It'd be wonderful to, if they could come forward, we plan once a month or whatever, to have one special offering.
Often the
music.
choir sang a song as right after the piece, when we were
Right.
preparing the table.
Right.
And some musical offerings, they don't have to be vocal.
No, they don't.
They could be played on instruments. That would be an addition.
Awesome ideas.
Elaine, what did you do in the church when you were asked to play? Was it in which church? A couple weeks ago? Yeah.
Oh, let's see, there were a couple, yeah, so there are like those slots for special music where you just have a piano and viola or whatever. And then there's kind of supporting the congregation. I feel like those are two different things, like we're kind of generating ideas about how to help the congregation feel more confident and just enjoy the music more instead of feeling exposed. So I think that's one job. And then this, the kind of the special music offerings can happen on, special days or in special places in the service. But so yeah, I feel like those are kind of different jobs. So yeah, those are both possible.
I think there's also a tension between performance and worship in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and who feels qualified to do what? I feel like our discussions like about helping everyone feel qualified to sing. And I like that. So yeah, there might just need to be a conversation about the actual space, like the acoustics and how those could be improved and or feel really welcoming and encouraging to singers. Yeah, conversation about the space, conversation about kind of the tasks, like who's choosing music and who's teaching and guiding the music. So they're the jobs that a choir director or music director usually does that will need to be spread out or not. And then there's the special music piece, like who's going to feel comfortable standing up and doing 5 minutes of, being in the spotlight kind of, or yeah.
I would love to hear Mike talk a little about music, because I know you've written music and written songs, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know how much of it, apply to this. I mean, for me, music in my life, yeah, is mostly focused on composing, taking a little bit of music theory. I mean, I can sing a little bit. I mean, I've been in choir at Front Range, but I need to have somebody, grading me. I need a lot of practice if I'm gonna get something right. So,
But you have a lot of knowledge about the sound, how sound works. And I think that is a big piece as well as linking with the musicians.
I do have a little bit. I mean, it's for me, it's always just on headphones, in my room. Claire definitely, I think, has a better idea of how to get, especially like how to mic people and stuff like that. Because I almost never have to deal with any of that stuff and stuff that I do. Very little of it. So
It's all resources.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I am curious. I mean, just since you put me on the spot here, what I was thinking about. I'm curious if there are people, I was gonna Google this after the thing here. Are there like modern hymn writers? Like even with organ?
We've sung more.
I'll have some. I guess I've noticed some where I'll see the date is fairly modern.
Yeah.
Nice feeling.
All right.
It is funny though, because the Lutheran pastor at our joint clergy conference, he led it a year ago, said, why aren't there more up-to-date Episcopal hymnals? Because they come up with new hymnals pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And it is true, we have a limited number for some reason.
I think because now a lot of the Episcopal churches are using other music, and there's just too many to have to try to put into a hymn and what to take out. So the hymnals, are much more complicated to process and put together now. They would be.
Where we've been to church. That's put together usually by choir director, obviously, but still that are more modern or newer things that have come from other places and put together, and we use that on a regular basis. So it's a lot of work, real lot of work, and I know that it doesn't work out always, but I do know that we've been in several churches that those kind of things exist, so to speak, the notebook hymnal of things that our congregation really likes. So
It's back.
No, my church back east, we used the Maranatha praise book during communion. So, and there's a lot of beautiful songs in there. But we did it during communion. Because we also had some people play their instruments with it. So, and that was a very traditional Episcopal church. I mean,
Yeah. When did the congregations help out with it?
mm-hmm. The newer
Yes, yeah.
but we also did a lot of up-to-date not hymns, but anthems. I don't know what service our choir director used, but she could play the actual music on recordings. They would send her to the recordings, and then as a choir, we'd sit there and go, that sounds good. She was also our organist, so it was fun. She sat this way, and we sat this way. Trying to see what she was doing was always fun. But yeah, so I don't know what company she used, but it was very helpful for us to be able to say, oh yeah, that sounds really good. Do you think the congregation's gonna like it? The words are great.
Jan, I guess.
If it's not just every single Sunday or it's every single hymn, we can have an insert. Here's your bulletin and here's the insert. We've inserted things in the bulletin. So the actual music score could be just an insert in the bulletin. Would be less onerous than trying to put a whole note together.
Yeah, and we could use that same one, and
And
some months later.
Yeah, I'd be more up for doing that if we had like the hymn that we were singing over and over until we memorized it, or got it, and could sing it. Because it is actually a little work to put in the inserts. So, but if I had an insert that I could say, here, let's put this in the bulletin for the next 4 weeks while people learn this, then that'd be workable.
It wouldn't even have to be put in the bulletin. It could be set next to the bulletin, so you pick up both.
True.
Which is what we've done with the report out letter. We've done that with many things. For several.
Janie, do people here know the service music, like for one mass that does the Holy Holy and the Lamb of God and the whatever, all those? Do you know those? So you know a number of those?
Oh, yeah.
And you sing like one of the same thing all through one mass or one service?
Yeah, no. So typically, as the ex-spouse of the choir director for however many years, we would typically use a different service music. We would change it, what, Monty, like 3 times a year, 4 times a year?
It's changing in 2 weeks. So
Right.
we'll have a new Gloria, new Sanctus, a new fraction. The day you guys are outside. Then in 2 weeks, that service music is gonna change.
Right.
You'll-
So if you look at a set of service music, typically it is not always by the same composer, but Kim tried to make it so that it was musically cohesive. And of those sets, I would say this congregation probably knows 2 or 3 sets really, really well. So like the 130 Holy Holy is one of our standards. Yeah.
And Gloria.
Yeah.
So normally the choir season would be off for the summer and then start back when all of the other programming started back. And like this year, it's September the 10th, I think, is when we're starting nursery and Sunday school and adult forum and such. Do you think it would be worthwhile to have a sign up sheet of possible anthems or?
I was thinking, could we get a small group together that meets on a regular basis? Goes through our music, goes through all the resources we have. This is a lot of, and go look at the seasons of the church. Thank you. And see what we can actually recommend. Because what I'm finding is some of the recommendations were a little too hard for the congregation off the bat. Because being a choir member, we would see the service music 2 weeks before we sang it, when it changed, right, Monty? I mean, we would go over it, especially if it was something new. You just can't throw that on people and say, here's something new, sing it. You know, so yeah, if we could get a small group of people, they don't have to meet every week. It could just be like a Saturday or something and go through what we have.
Like maybe once a month. Even.
Once a month, just to get it, you know.
Yeah.
And then you can see, you know, are we singing things that are way out of the range of most of the people in this congregation? I mean, I started as a high soprano, but now I'm an alto. And some of those hymns, I can't hit those high notes after a while, you know. So maybe we need to look. And there's several versions of a hymn. And we all may know version 1, but sometimes version 2 gets put in. And we're like, what? What was that?
Almost 3 verses.
I know. So yeah, I'd be up to being on that committee. I really would.
Would you?
Great.
There any Trinity singers who are looking to get more practice?
Any what?
Trinity.
Well, Emma was singing with. She has a wonderful alto voice.
I'm not sure I can sing against 3 altos.
Yes. And basses now. Is Jim still here?
Yes. One sound card.
Yeah, I guess the question is there a way to open that up so that anybody who wanted to, you know, learn the hymns that are the service music are?
Yeah.
For me, the idea of singing in choir, I love it, and I just don't have anything or something like that. So I don't know, is there a way to do it right before a service where people could?
Well, maybe we could.
That was my thoughts, is you could just come at 9:15 on, or 8:15 on a Sunday morning.
People that are interested.
And then whoever's concerned about singing the hymns properly and getting familiar with the music, I can just run through everything, help with the melody. 45 minutes before any service, just meet here at 8:15. That gives us a half hour to look at anything, because invariably there's stuff coming through that we aren't familiar with, or we don't know how to sing. Stuff comes through in Wonder, Love, and Praise. It's just too hard to sing because we don't have any rehearsal on it, and nobody's singing. So the stuff that's in the 1982 hymnal, I think everybody's familiar with. But if you're wanting to try new things or new stuff out, the only way to do it is to look at it before the service. And nobody was coming to rehearsals except Joan and Betsy the last year. So I recommend just coming, at 8:15 on Sunday morning. Whatever music's picked out, we can run through and try to learn it the best we can in a half hour before the service.
Anybody who's interested in going over the hymns before the service.
Would it be possible to do that in the choir room that's adjacent to do the run through?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter where you do it. I mean, I'd rather just wherever you want to do it. It'd be easier for me to do it in the church itself. That way we don't have to pick up and and waste time because I still want to have time to practice my prelude and postlude and run through my own music, but I mean, that's the room that we have to sing in, so you might as well get used to hearing what you sound like in the.
Also, if you're playing organ, it's nice to be with the organ.
Right. Right, 90.
And there isn't anybody before us. They all feel love having there. Yeah, used to us.
They'll come before 8, or Carrie will be there practicing the Lutheran organ, but.
Yeah.
Oh,
really?
okay, walk on, it should be fine. Yeah.
Oh,
I have a alert, and that's that my camera's telling me my battery is low,
Oh, dear.
and we are at 10:30, so.
Oh, my gosh.
No, we're not.
11
o'clock.
We're at 11:20. Anyway, so just to let you know that we're about to lose our Zoom
Okay.
thing. I don't know why it went so fast.
Well, it sounds like maybe coming on a Sunday once a month to learn the music. Is that what I'm hearing? Once a month, or is it
No, I would say every Sunday.
every Sunday? Okay.
We have new hymns every week, so doing once a month isn't gonna help you on the following Sunday. I
you
mean,
couldn't do all.
you need to look at the music you're gonna sing, the Sunday you're gonna sing it to have any effect.
So I think that sounds like a great idea of gathering people before the service to go over the hymns for that day. I think also sending out a email to the congregation and asking for people to submit their favorite hymns.
Yeah, Jody said she would be glad to do
To
that.
collate those, yeah.
We already made a list of St. Paul's favorite hymns.
I have that, but we have new people now, so I think we need to
Some of
ask
them
for
we
it.
just had to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and take some off, maybe.
And there might be a chance for conversation with Claire and Mike and Monty about just if you're in this space, like how could we make it work best for them?
Just then you did talk about a once a month gathering to
Yes, to
kind of look at
music.
music for the far out.
Yeah, you know, people don't realize that most hymns are picked to go with the liturgy.
Yeah, I don't do that,
Well, Monty may.
but I choose
Oh,
the
you
hymns
tell
right now. And I've tried to choose hymns that people like, but I choose some that I like too, and that people don't know. So,
And that's what we need to know.
So, yeah, if you let maybe the three of us know ahead of time, we can be looking at them and learning so that when we do the every Sunday morning, there's a couple of us that are already somewhat familiar with them.
Also, here's a far out idea. Actually, John Roberts did this once, and that's putting new lyrics to some of our favorite tunes where the theology sucks.
Yeah.
You know? So
That needs to be done in that whole thing.
I know that really.
I'm so tired of fighting a horse.
So if anybody has that kind of talent, I think that'd be really helpful.
We also talked about having guests, maybe.
Yeah.
At some point, during guest musicians.
guest musicians.
Guest singers. Instrumental. That kind of thing. And occasional.
From our congregation,
From our
from our congregation.
And you talked about.
I just wondered if they were the students that you would like the exposure.
Well, and I wanted to hop onto that idea as well. My father's church is right next to the Claremont Colleges in the Los Angeles area. And man, musical talent they have as guest talent coming through there is phenomenal. We have UMC, which is a known music school. And we have CSU. So I don't know if we could advertise something about, hey, if you have a song that would be appropriate for church that you would like to perform before you have to go perform it for your professors or whatever. You can come try it out in front of a friendly congregation for and we'll pay you a nominal honorarium type of thing. Might be an idea.
That's a great.
And we still talking about liking some of it.
Yeah. I think that needs to be done.
And just having you, first, good job. Really, you know, made a difference.
I've told people in the past, I went to the Esselberger School of Music. The young people go, who was that? My mother's name was Ethel, so.
Well, I think we've got some really good ideas and we have passion, obviously, to continue and keep making music together. So thank you for that. More to come in terms of favorite hymns and gatherings, but some really good ideas. So thank you. Thank you all.